Can you see any humpback swales yet? Nah, patience laddie. A swale has got the mind of its own. Welcome back to another episode of Lulu's Perch. In this episode, we are going to hunt for the biggest, longest, and most beautiful swale on the property. The one they call Moby Ditch. Full speed ahead, Captain! So we're going to dig the biggest swale on the property, the Moby Ditch. And we're going to sit down and we're going to learn about all of her berms, her back cuts, her curves, slopes and spillways. But if you want to look at how to make the contours of a swale, go check out my swale watching episode and I'll leave a link in the description below.
Aye. Can we sing a wee little sea shanty for this episode?
No, I don't think people like our songs. Let's just keep this episode strictly educational. Eh? So let's do a recap. A swale is a water harvesting ditch that is dug on contour so it holds large amounts of rainwater evenly across a sloping landscape.
Now that we are unsure, we're following the contour.
Just stop there, please. So if we took a cross section of a hill like this, a swale would look kinda like this. Using this diagram, I can show you the three main components which allow a swale to function. The first is the back cut. Now this is the gradual slope which pacifies the rainwater as it comes down and fills up component number 2, the trough. This is where the rainwater is stored. And it's stored here until it percolates into component number 3, the berm. But it also percolates and plumes under the ground and it's able to water the trees from the roots.
It percolates and plumes underground to reach the roots.
Just stop. But before we start digging our Moby Ditch, I've got to get out the treasure map and we've got to track down its water movements. So at the moment, we've got rainwater that overflows down here out of the tank and then down here as hard runoff off the driveway. Now, if you saw my last swale watching episode, I dug 2 swales here to catch this runoff and I planted a little food forest. Now what I want to do is send out the Moby Ditch of swales to come and intercept this rainfall. Now if I can do that, I can rehydrate this side of the landscape and I can plant another food forest. So now that we know Moby Ditch's general contour and direction, we can go out into the field and find out how steep it is so we know how wide we have to make our swale. Now to do this, I'm going to give you a simplified method and formula so you can work out your slope at home. Now all you're going to need for this exercise is a 1 meter ruler and a tape measure. Now these 2 tools are going to give us the rise and the run of our slope, or the vertical and the horizontal of our slope, which is going to tell us how steep it is and how wide we can make our swale. Now by sticking that 1 meter ruler into the ground and then measuring at a right angle with the tape measure back at the slope, we could measure our rise over run. In our case, it was 1 meter to 7 meters. So yeah, cool, 1 to 7, what the hell does that mean? Well, if we apply it to our slope guide, it all starts to make sense. So if you measure your slope and it's a 1 to 10 rise over run, that's fantastic. That's a 5.7 degree slope and you can dig a swale that's big enough to drive a Mack truck through it. So now we get a little bit steeper and your slope is 1 to 4. That's a 14 degree slope. That's fine. You could dig a swale big enough to fit a small car. Okay, now we're getting a little bit steeper. Your slope was a 1 to 3 rise over run ratio. This is an 18 degree slope. You'd want to dig your swale wide enough to be able to fit a wheelbarrow. Okay, this is very, very steep. Your slope is a 1 to 2 rise over run ratio. This is 26.6 degree slope. You don't want to dig your swale any wider than the head on your shovel. Now do not go any steeper than that. I repeat, do not go any steeper than that, otherwise you are entering the landslide zone and there is no coming back from that. Now even though my slope is a 1 to 7 rise over run ratio, I'm in the tropics here and I get a hell of a lot of rainfall. So if I capture too much water, I'm at risk of waterlogging my property. So I'm still only going to dig a swale as wide enough for a wheelbarrow. So now that I know the slope, the contour, and how wide my swale is going to be, I'm going to have to put in a precautionary measure to make sure that my swale doesn't fill up too much and bust out the whole wall. And that is where a spillway comes in. So a spillway is a point or section in the swale that directs overflowing rainwater into the direction that we want it to go without damaging the swale or the surrounding garden.
Ah, like a whale's blowhole.
Yeah, it's kind of like a blowhole, I guess.
A spillway's like a blowhole, like a whale sneeze, but in slow-mo.
This can be achieved with a crest spillway or an overflow pipe. Now we're going to choose the crest spillway because it allows the overflow to spill in a placid sheet of water, pacifying its energy completely. Well, they're the ins and outs of swale watching. Now it's time to get into the garden and catch Moby Ditch. Oi, have you got your harpoon ready?
I may not have a harpoon, but the shore is there got the sharp spoon.
Why are you wearing that long face? You're not game for Moby Dick?
Use the anchor, then your tankard, play your hurdy-gurdy. Slug your groggy old sea dog and drink away your scurvy. Me words are slurred, me eyes are blurred, the words turn topsy-turvy. Won't start a new venture till all me crew members are drunk and far from thirsty. All hands on deck, me hearties, when the waves are raging hardest. You'll all obey or walk the plank as bait to feed the sharks with. We'll brave the dangerous seas and they will see our flag the farthest. You can ask the tavern wenches, they all know me past the margin. Oh, your wife, I mean, it's a pirate's life for me. Chests and booty I'd like to see across the seas to find my peace. I'm speaking of golden riches, I'll take all I can load my ship with. Ladies, sail the seas with me to see how real a Moby Dick is. A schooner rises skywards, there's booty to be found. You can put my ass on blast of ass, you'll never shoot me down. We're paid of blues to play our tunes on top of the roof we found. So make room on the poop deck, but I'm on we're booty bound. Ho, you scalawags, grab a shovel and help me dig. If the spoils are less than treasure, we'll lock you up in the galleon brig. Have you glanced the map, you rapscallion? The X will mark the jackpot. Dig a hole in the ground, if no loot is found, then we'll be met with the black spot. I'm a crack shot with me musket here, like a swashbuckling buccaneer. If you spot our Johnny Roger near, you'll see just what's all and lumber's fair. We've sprung a nade truck from the rear. Pick up your trusty bucket cheer. I'm ready to drop somebody steer. He's gonna barf everybody clear. Captain, how the seas have blackened from the deep up beast attacking. Failure's hard to swallow, but that's all will be the cracking. I will blast him out of the water, haul our cargo back to harbor. Only men of mine left behind are those who don't know port from starboard. We'll never be ripped asunder through thunderstorms and sunburns. We'll scavenge, sponge and plunder even when we be seasick drunkards. And we'll sing a salty shanty should our sorry ship go under. Then we'll spend some time with Davy Jones where sunken sailors slumber. A schooner rises skywards, there's booty to be found. You can put my ass on blast of ass, you'll never shoot me down. We're paid to lose to play our tunes on top of the loot we found. So make room on the poop deck, but aboard we're booty bound. Yo ho ho, with me bottle of rum, it's me all that I've rum to drink. Coast to coast we roam to a wobbly trot, though the Kraken catches up with me. The schooner rises skywards, there's booty to be found. You can put my ass on blast of ass, you'll never shoot me down. We're paid to lose to play our tunes on top of the loot we found. So make room on the poop deck, but aboard we're booty bound. Yo ho, pirates life for me.
I am actually so exhausted right now. Let's have a look at it. Look at massive swale all the way down there and then all the way down the other side. Aye, well there you have it, landlubbers. A fully grown swale spillway. Till I get outside, dig a Moby Ditch with your sharp spoon and I'll see ye in the next chapter. Get ya.